Hello everyone, my name is Praveen. I am a DevOps engineer. We are into the course called Ansible. We were discussing about Ansible in previous lectures where we were working on what is Ansible. Ansible, as we all know, it's an configuration and orchestration engine. In the previous modules which we discussed was what is Ansible, its benefits compared to other tools, and we discussed in module number 2 about how to use Ansible in a daily Unix infrastructure or a Windows infrastructure environment. The third module which we discussed was about a playbook. Ansible playbooks are a really typical part of Ansible. These are actually a backbone. So if you're not going through those lectures, please go through before we start off with the current lecture called Ansible Modules. So let's begin. So let me start introducing what Ansible module is and how are we going to use them in our daily Ansible infrastructure. So please make sure you go through previous modules before we start on with Ansible Modules chapter. This is actually linked with previous modules and previous chapters as well. So you need to be strong enough in playbook before going into this modules chapter. So let's begin. So Ansible modules actually a units of work in Ansible. So eventually how playbooks are the main backbone for Ansible, modules are the main key areas for Ansible. So we are writing playbook using modules. Without modules, it's very difficult to complete the task in an automated or a easy way. So the modules are predefined. The modules can be written by you as well. It can be borrowed from a third-party website or it can be used from Ansible website. Ansible has almost 200 plus modules. So what we can do is we are going to discuss about some set of modules which we are going to use in our daily regular Unix infrastructure work. There are almost 250 Ansible modules given by Ansible alone, and that's our tested and implemented and working fine. There are open source Ansible modules which we can get it from GitHub. There are some kind of modules which you can write by yourself and execute in the playbook. So particularly, as I told earlier, Ansibles are the units of work. Each module is mostly standalone and can be written in standard scripting language, including Python, Perl, Ruby, Bash. So if you're good in some scripting language, you can write your own module that we can use it in Ansible as a form of playbook and execute our tasks and automate the infrastructure environment and orchestrate it fast. So one of the important properties of modules is idempotency, which means that even if the operation is repeated multiple times, it is always placed in the system in the same state. So what I mean to tell is, like earlier when we were discussing the playbook section, so imagine we were used to install a kind of Apache web server or kind of any kind of application like Logwatch or Htop. What we used to do is, like, once the application is installed at the client and at the client node, so if you just rerun the playbook again, it is going to check if it's installed or not. If there are changes, it's going to upgrade it. If there is no changes, then it's going to leave the same state. So this property is called idempotency, which means that the operation is repeated multiple times. It's not going to affect operation unless there is a change required, but it is going to check every time whether the operation should be performed or not. That's a good concept from Ansible. It's using a concept called of idempotency. So let's begin with explaining some kind of Ansible modules. What we can do is, I have just listed some of the modules where we can use them in a playbook and execute our daily tasks. Before to start working on Ansible module, let's recheck whether our Ansible environment is intact, and we need to make sure that whether the environment is feasible enough to continue doing all the modules. So as I told in the previous classes, my infrastructure consists of AWS EC2 servers. My infrastructure consists of Ansible already installed. If you're following through module number 2 or 3, where I have installed Ansible and I have made a SSH test setup connectivity between them, then please go ahead and go through those lectures before continuing this lecture. So what I have done earlier, as you all know, that I have used one Ansible master server and I have used 3 node server. For explaining Ansible modules in a proper and in a neat way. So what I'm going to do now is I can just launch another instance. Before launching another instance, we need to make sure that why we are launching another instance. So the reason is, we are all having nodes which are built up in Red Hat. So What I mean to tell is we are having all the nodes built up in Red Hat Enterprise Server. I want one node which is built up in Ubuntu. So it'll be easy for me to explain how Ansible modules are used efficiently to explain irrespective of various kind of distributions. So I'm going to just launch another instance. That will be a Ubuntu instance. I'm going to select Ubuntu instance here. I'm going to just go configure the details as expected previously, and I'm going to give the instance as node 4 because we have 3 nodes lying. I'm going to use the same security group. I have used my security group earlier. It has all the protocols, all the ports launched. If you have not gone through how to launch instance, please go through my module 1 and module 2 lectures. It's going to explain you clearly how to launch an instance freely and use them and set up an Ansible environment. Just acknowledge. I used that key earlier which I have in my laptop. So let the machine launch. Before the machine is getting launched, I need to just bring these 3 machines online because I want to use them in my Ansible network. At the end of module 4, I have just stopped all the Ansible nodes, clients, everything, so that um, from this lecture I can just reset up it everything, so it will be very clear for you guys to understand how to set up Ansible connectivity, everything in a very faster space. So let's wait until these nodes bring up, and I need to verify the connectivity between them, so that before explaining the modules and implementing in a kind of popular modes, we need to just wait for the machines to come up. Just hold on for some time. So all the machines are up. Earlier what we used to do is like we know this Ansible master is an intact with node 2, node 3, everything, but this has an backend SSH connections availability which is properly doing good, which is not asking password every time which we do this. But this machine is newly launched machine, which is Ubuntu machine. I want to make this machine to properly communicate with all the other nodes with proper keys, and I need to create a test user in this particular machine, so that test user can be used to communicate with all the nodes, and the other nodes should communicate with this node for easily. So let me do that. Before that, I just want the status to show 2x2. It is going to show, but okay, I need to assign an elastic IP because every time I reboot node 4, the public IP is going to change, so I'm going to make it intact. I'm going to put a static elastic IP. Allocate the elastic IP. Yes, use the elastic IP and associate with my node 4. Please follow through the steps. So if you're missing anything, please reread the document in module 1 and module 2, and you'll be clear enough. Okay, so now I'm going to go to instance, and I have associated a static public IP for node 4, so the IP is not going to change every time which I try to log in. Before the other machines come up, I'm going to go to node 4, copy the key, and go to my terminal here. So I'm just logging into another terminal. So this will be my node Ansible node 1. Okay, this will be my Ansible node 2. This will be my Ansible node 3. I haven't connected to all those machines now. I should connect once I set up node 4 properly. So Ansible node 4. Oops, I need to go back to my downloads directory and find my key. So yeah, I'm already in downloads directory. I'm going to paste and connect to my Ubuntu machine. So I'm going to add, okay, let me verify if it's a Ubuntu machine cat etc issue. It's going to, yeah, it's a Ubuntu 14.04.3 LTS machine. Before logging, before checking out, I should check whether my master server is intact with node 1, node 2, node 3. So for that, I can just use a command called ansible all -m ping, which is going to check whether my all machines are intact. Yes, it's intact, it's working good. Before that, I just want to check the repo properly. So Ansible all -m. What I can do is -m all -a is the command. So let me just check that. So what we can do now is like we are getting a positive response that the Ansible network is good, and we need to check whether we are having a proper groups enable. Yes. Oops, it's hosts. Yes, I can see some kind of groups are enabled here. Called Apache Web is having 2 servers, app server is having 1 server added. So good. And Ansible all -m -a yum. Okay, I need to use -s -s shell -a, sorry, -s -m module shell -a. Then just put yum list installed grep telnet, just to check whether the package management is intact. Yeah, it's showing some kind of error, so maybe it's because I need to make sure the package management is good in those machines. Let me just check the package management in that machines as well. Everything is good, but you need to check the package management properly or not. Module m -a. So we need to make sure the package management is intact before we implement the modules, because most of the modules start using packages to make sure the connectivity is good and to make sure that everything is fine. So let's make an package management intact for this, so that there won't be any problem when we try and demonstrate Ansible module. So what I can do is now -all -mm -a pkg equal to httpd. So check whether I can install httpd on all the machines. If I am unable to install httpd on the machine, I need to make sure the package management is intact, because I have rebooted my Amazon AWS machines. When you reboot, the package management was kind of unresponsive. So let me just check the package management between the master and the node 1, node 2, node 3. I can see there are issues when we connect to the package management. So what we can do is like I go to each machine. So I need to first understand when we face issue with the package management, we need to make that intact before we start setting up modules. So I'm just getting the IPs of whichever the servers having a problem. Okay, so I go to my node machine. I go to connect. So not required. So let me go to my master machine. Go to connect here. Copy this. Using master machine, I'm going to go to each and every node, like this. So I'm going to go to, yeah, I'm into this machine now. I'm into master. Switch to test. We know that test user is having a passwordless SSH between all the other machines. So I'm going to connect to 158, my node 1 machine. SSH test at node 1. So this is having a passwordless, we know that, and we're gonna create a repository. So what I have is like a kind of method to create the repository. I'm gonna use creating a local yum repository, so that we don't face much issues when we do the modules section. So just follow through the steps. I have a package management already predefined at the backend, so I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, I'm creating a local repository for each and every node, nothing much. So we just go through some of the Red Hat web pages where ask them like how to create a local repository using a DVD, and I'm going to do the same thing in each machine, so that there will be no problem with package management. I'm just creating a repository, nothing much. Just copy this repository details, paste it. So once that is done, I'm doing it on a node 1. I'm doing it on node 1. I have cleaned up, and I have subscription clean also. Perfect. So if I just type sudo yum repo list, it should show the package whatever I have enabled at the backend. Let me check. Take some time. Okay, let it take some time. Before that, I'm gonna connect to my other machine, 158. So this is master server is 156. This is 158. Okay, so I go to my master server, copy the key, connect to using master server. I'm connecting to node 2 because master and node is having a SSH passwordless SSH setup. So I'm gonna do the same thing to node 3 as well. Okay, so then using node 2, I'm gonna connect to node, using master server, I'm gonna connect to node 2 because test user is having SSH connectivity. So I'm gonna go here, take 157 and connect here SSH test at 157. Perform the same steps which I did it. So here I can see the packages are there. So cool. I'm going to perform the same steps in all the nodes so that I'm creating a local repository in order to avoid problems of package management. So these are all the pre-works. You need to make sure that whenever you face it, like use this setup. Okay, I need to just sudo to test into my node 2 and perform this operation. I'm going to use this. I'm going to copy this. There's nothing much I'm doing. I'm just creating a local repository so that package management will be intact. Just follow through the steps and don't miss out the stuff. What am I doing? So when you face package management problems, then you can do the same setup. Save it. Yum clean all, subscription clean all, repo list. That's it. So sudo yum repo list. It takes some time. Then we're gonna do the same thing here. SSH. So I'm gonna switch to root, switch to test, and test at my last machine. This is my last machine. I did it in 158. I did it in 157. I did it in 151. I just go to my machine. I'm doing it in 151. Sorry. Yeah. I have my Red Hat 7 ISO here, so I'm going to use that as a repository. So that's what I'm doing. Just go to Google and type how to create a Red Hat 7 repository and do the steps. So I'm going to use sudo to that, make sure that everything is in fine. Just paste it and copy this. Paste the configuration file which I used for other two nodes. Save it. Oops, I think I have not used sudo. That's why it's just facing a problem. Yep, that's right. I'm gonna use sudo, paste it, delete the entire stuff, save. So once you save it, do the same stuff as before and do the same stuff. Okay, sudo yum repo list. Perfect. Config contains some error, so let me just go see what error is that. Yeah, you're having some problem with the starting. Install. Perfect. So this should work. This worked. Let me just check whether I can. Perfect. So I clear all the nodes. I'm in 158, 157, and remember 151. So the moment I go here and just check my ping, yeah, ping should work because as it was working earlier, but the package management should work as expected. That was my main intention. So just go -ma pkg equal to httpd. I'm going to install httpd in the command line. The Ansible command line usage is another new topic which I can take in a module number 8 or 7. So let me just check whether I can install httpd on these 3 machines. You need to perform a root. So what I do is I can use -s option in previous here so that it is going to perform that operation. You can see now it is performing the operation, and yes, Localhost, it is having some problem because the localhost is again okay. So I need to remove remove httpd and localhost because we are trying to upgrade that. Yeah, here also we have facing a package problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform the same steps here. I have a Red Hat 7 ISO. I'm going to mount it so that package management will be intact. And in the I'm doing it in a master server now because master server is also facing problem as we did it on the nodes. So I'm going to do it on a master server now as well. So just go to this particular file and vim into that. Make sure you're using sudo vim into that, delete everything, copy the data, copy this, paste it, save this, use sudo yum clean all, use sudo subscription manager. Oops, the copying is having some difficulties for me. Yep. So now sudo yum repo list. It's gonna grab all my repositories available locally and from network. And after that, I'm gonna just use the same Ansible command to make sure that my package management should be intact from master to client, including the localhost. Perfect. Now the package management is intact. Using this, I can just explain Ansible modules very quick and you will be very fast. The setup is always important. So we know that this master is communicating to these three nodes and it's installing the packages. I have just installed, but I'm going to remove those packages so that in Ansible modules, these are very much intact. So I have removed those, and to verify I can rerun it. This concept is called item potency. Like I'm rerunning it and it's not gonna have effect. Now I'm going to going to an Ubuntu machine. So I'm just verifying again. I want to add this machine into the same Ansible network. How do I do that? Same stuff. Just see whether I have a test user. There's no test user. Create a user add test, create the directory mkdir home/test and own the directory to you test. Now switch to test user. Yes, see the person working directory. Yes, it's working. Put a password for test. Yeah, I have put a password for the test. Now the task is, how do I make sure the Ubuntu machine is added into Ansible network? Why I am adding an Ubuntu machine into Ansible network? Because when we are explaining modules and when we are explaining further modules like roles and other modules, this Ubuntu acts an important part, and where I can explain how to differentiate, using modules, roles, or playbooks with respect to distribution. Because in a complex heterogeneous environment, we can see that there are different modules, different distributions like Ubuntu, Red Hat, CentOS, SUSE Linux. And how do we going to differentiate? How does Ansible going to differentiate these distributions and perform the tasks? That is the main part of the further coming lectures. So that is why I'm adding a new node into our existing infrastructure. So please follow up carefully how to add a new node into an existing infrastructure. It's the same process. The first step is create a test user ID, assign a password for that user ID, generate a key, ssh hyphen key generate the key and copy the key into that other machine. So what I can do is like get the IP of this machine. We have IP stuff, right? We are having an IP stuff. Okay, I am just checking out. Yes, this is the perfect. This is the setup, right? I'm gonna use node 4, and this will be Ubuntu. This is Red Hat. This is Red Hat. This is Red Hat. This is master server is Red Hat. So this is the network configuration. I'm going to use public, and I'm going to copy public IP. I'm going to just go to my management console and go to my node 4. Copy the public IP. So where is my public IP? Here is my public IP. Copy that IP. Paste it in my node and put it on the private IP. Go to the private IP, and you must be knowing the private IP is this one. Paste it here. So we are into private IP. If you guys go here, you can come to know what is my IP. If oops, command not found. So sudo if config -a. Okay, so we gonna verify like this into the root. Yeah, perfect. We are in the same IP. Now, what are the prerequisites that we done earlier? We went to etc ssh and we have vimmed sshd underscore config and removed a password authentication for password as we did in the first class when we setting up a normal node infrastructure. As we set up when there was a hash in it, but in Ubuntu it's disabled. It's disabled and it's clear. Then permit root login we did it in the previous classes as well. So permit root login with the person is perfect, and there's no need to do anything from this our end. But one of the things is like we need to make sure we provide a kind of sudo privileges. Go to this and put up an entry for test user, and so that it should ask password. It should not ask password when Ansible tries to communicate to the server. I just go to test, switch to test account, and we have having a key. So I'm going to use connect to other private I keys, make passwordless. So what I'm going to do is ssh hyphen copy hyphen id test at the other machine 151. So if it's asking for password, just type test. It's going to add one key is added. That means this machine can communicate to this machine without a password, as like this. Just put this would ask password now. Perfect, right? Yeah. Now I'm going to do the same thing for other two machines including master. So what I'm going to do is ssh hyphen copy hyphen id, go to my node 2, copy the private address, use the user called test because we are authenticating using test users. Remember we did it in the previous classes. So one more key is added. I'm going to use add word to my another machine, ssh copy hyphen id. Don't use without user test because if you use without test, right, so it's going to ask for root password. We don't know the root password, doesn't it? So we have configured using a test, but it is fine, I think. Yeah, we are added, but make sure we add using test as well. Okay, that's already key exists in the system, and I'm into this cat etc issue. Perfect. Fine. I'm going to the master server, which is 156. Sorry, it's 156. This one. So I'm going to just use reset of my password because the master server password I resetted it some time back, and I'm going to use ssh hyphen go to the node 4 ssh hyphen copy hyphen id test at the machine, master machine. Yes, it's going to ask password. Perfect. So now this node 4 is intact with master, node 1, node 2, node 3. Fine. So what about reverse way? I need to get this IP. Yeah, the IP is private IP is this one. So I'm gonna do the reverse way now, so that password, Ansible password will be not facing an issue. So what I'm gonna do is ssh copy id test at this node 4. It's gonna ask, and it's gonna have kind of problem here. Permission denied, public key. Okay, it's all case permission denied. So what we need to do, we need to just check out some permissions here. What I'll do is vim etc ssh sshd underscore config password authentication. I think I didn't change that earlier. We should change and restart the service. Password authentication should be S, and I should restart the service. Service sshd restart, ssh restart. Perfect. Now I try to do the same thing. Let me see. It's going to ask for password. Earlier it's showing permission denied. Now I copied, and I'm going to use the same thing for my all other machines. Very quick. Go paste. Yes. Test. Go paste in each and every other node 1 nodes test. So yeah. Okay, so why we are doing this? Because I have added a new node into my Ansible network to differentiate and explain my Ansible further modules, Ansible modules, and Ansible roles, and you're gonna figure out how it is gonna function very soon. Once we have added, so if I just type Ansible all -m ping, it is still going to ping only node 1, node 2, node 3, including my master host. Like, the reason is because we haven't added the node 4 host into our host main Ansible configuration files. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to sudo etc Ansible hosts. Sorry, we need to use vim sudo etc Ansible hosts. I have some dummy server which I did some tests back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this group name called and put it red hat, and I'm going to remove this one and add a new server called Ubuntu. This is a new group. I'm going to put the IP of that new server. Instead of doing this, what I'll do is perfect. So what I'll do is I create another group. Let's also, for a safer side, I want one machine of Red Hat, two machines of Red Hat, one separate machine of Red Hat, one local machine, and one Ubuntu machine. So what I'm going to put is Red Hat. We are having app server. So that's fine. So one group is Red Hat, one group is app server, one group is Ubuntu. So let me save it and try to ping all the machines into my host. Now we need to get a node 4 added as well. So as you see earlier, we were not having this node 5 into Ansible network. Now we are having node number 4 in Ansible network earlier. Now we are having node number 5 added into my Ansible network. So this way we need to keep on growing our Ansible network. We have added one more node called node 4, but that is an Ubuntu distribution. So if I just to verify whether my Ubuntu distribution works fine, just replace Ansible all with Ubuntu and just check, yes, the Ubuntu distribution works fine. So we are good to go now, and we are good. So the next step, what we are going to do is like start working on Ansible modules. So let's start using Ansible modules singly and how to use those Ansible modules into a playbook. Okay, so let's start basic Ansible module setups. So what I'm going to do is like I'm into my master server. Remember, this is my master server. This is a node 1, node 2, node 3, node 4 is just Ubuntu, which is just recently added into my network. So also we have verified package management compatibility earlier. In order to make sure you do good with package management, just go to a kind of web page and type configure yum repository in RHEL7 and go to first web page and configure the yum repositories for proper package management, which these steps are properly given in a Red Hat website. Yeah, that's what I did some time back if you're not clear on what I did in package management. So now we are here in the master server to start working on Ansible modules. The first module which we are going to work now is a setup module. So how setup module is going to give us a kind of examples to illustrate in our infrastructure environment. As we go step by step, we are going to go step by step. So one is setup, then we go with file, and there are rest of modules. We are not going to explain all 200 modules, but the main modules which we are going to use it in roles or any kind of section. Fine. So let's start working on setup modules. Okay. Remember, we are used an Ubuntu added into our Ansible network. So what we're going to do is just verify cat etc Ansible host. Check we are having a machines. We are having one app server which is a Red Hat based, one two Red Hat machines, and one Ubuntu machine, one local host is a master server which I am in right now. So Ansible all, if I put all, and if I want to verify is my really node 4 is a Ubuntu server, so you can use setup module to verify that. That's why I have installed a new module -m setup -a filter equal to Ansible _star. So this will figure out a lot of information. As I show you, this is going to figure out machines from all the this is going to explain all the stuff. So I can just use, instead of all, I can use Ubuntu. This will show the characteristics of my Ubuntu machine. This is the thing. Now I have used setup on Ubuntu machine alone. This is my Ubuntu machine, and you can see it's having an internal private IP of 105. It is having IPv6 address, and it is having an architecture of 64 x86 64. It's having a BIOS 4.2 Amazon, and it is launched in today's date which is on R. It's going to have a timestamp and a lot of information. And you can see the Ansible distribution is Ubuntu. Distribution version is 14.4 Trusty OS, and it's launched in a Sydney location. So a lot of information is there. Using one module setup, when we can gather a lot of information, and if I want to gather information of my Ubuntu machine, I just type architecture, Ansible underscore architecture, to see whether I can get some information. Perfect. So I'm getting Ansible architecture on my Ubuntu machine. If I want to get the same information using my setup module, remember we are using a command called Ansible, and the specific groups, if you want to run, or if you can run on all machines, just replace with all. -M is for module setup. -A is what to perform on that particular destination location. So what I'm going to do now is like remove Ubuntu and just put all to check my architecture on all the servers. So you can see when I did this a setup module using a filter command, I can see my architecture in node 4, which is x86-64, in kind of 151, 157, and in localhost every machine is having x86-64 architecture. If I want to see the distribution of the machine, just type distribution. It is going to show this 158 is Red Hat, 157 is Red Hat, 151 is Red Hat, localhost is Red Hat, but this machine is Ubuntu. So this kind of differentiation we can do using setup, because in a heterogeneous complex environment we have servers containing all kind of distribution. So this is one of the important parameter called setup module, and this we are not using as a playbook as of now. We can use this as a playbook. I'm going to show you in future how to use them as a playbook. Okay, so if I want to find the fully qualified domain name of all the servers, just type FQDN. You can see the fully qualified domain name of each and every machine. Very quick, very fast. I'm going to replace FQDN with interfaces to see the interfaces available of all the machine. This is going to show on all the machine including CentOS. Each 0 is interface available, and it shows it along with the private IP. So if I want to see the kernel version, kernel, perfect. You can see the kernel version is for Red Hat is 3.10, 3.10, and the kernel version for Ansible Ubuntu is 3.12, because it's a different distribution, isn't it? You want to see the memory allocated for this machine, then we can just use Ansible mem total underscore MB. Perfect. Enter. You can see memory allocated for each and every machine, and which is very quick as well. So if you want to see the processor allocation, just replace with proc. Yeah, we can see Ansible facts, but I can think we can use a star for this. Let's see if it's going to come. Yes, if I use star, it's going to show us what kind of processor each machine has been running. Remember, everything is run using a setup module. This is a critical parameter to make sure that what is the architecture the hosts are been set up. If I want to see the virtual infrastructure, any kind of virtual stuff running, just type virtual star. If you're not sure what is the exact word to grab, you can see it's a guest running on Xen hypervisor. These details are actually running in an Ansible in an AWS network where the machines are running in Xen. Okay, so what are the stuffs we discussed now is like a setup module, and as we progress further in the future classes, in the future modules, we can see various kind of module handled singly and how to use them in terms of playbook. So as of now, I just explained setup module in a command line where we can just use them in a proper fashion way to get details from the host, including Ubuntu and any kind of distribution. We can see here that I have used setup module, and I've used an architecture to grab architecture details. I have used distribution to grab distribution details. Use FQDN for grabbing FQDN details, interfaces, and kind of lot of information. We are worked on modules. We can just use IPv4. Let me see if I get any kind of IPv4. No, it's not getting. So we just use IP. Let's see. So yeah, instead of IP, I think I need to use interfaces. Perfect. I'm getting ETH interface. The IP is anyhow this one. So if I want to get a proper IP details, then I can use any kind of command which is going to tell me the IP. Yes. So I think I need to use a broadcast for that. Broadcast star. Just let me try this. Ansible underscore broadcast. Oh no, this one we need to put. This one. Perfect. Perfect. We are going to get every details of IP. What is the address assigned? What is the gateway assigned? What is the interface? What is the MAC address? And what is MTU value? Network mask for each and every server. So that's it with Ansible modules. As we progress with different modules in further, then we're going to start using them and how to embed them into a form of playbook and execute. So if you followed with the previous classes, you will be knowing that we are having any playbooks directory, and we are worked on different kind of playbooks from my first playbook, tasks, variables, tags, run once, outline, handler. There are a lot of playbooks which we worked on module number 4. Please go through module number 4 before we try embedding modules in the form of playbooks in the next slide and the next lecture. So the next thing which I'm going to start is a file module. So before starting a file module, I need to start implementing in command line. As we progress further, we are going to change modules using in a kind of a playbook format. Um, okay, so now we are going to discuss about a new module called file module. This is an Ansible module where in the previous lecture we start discussing on setup module, how we are going to use it in a command line, and now we're going to start working on file module. We will have a look at how to use file module in Ansible to work with its properties, copy and remove files on our remote systems and on our control server. Control server is our master server. Let's begin with the file module. So before that, let's check whether our Ansible network is intact again. So this needs to be checked every time, which I just usually do. Ansible all -m ping. It's going to ping all machines. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is if I want to just you know copy some file, or retrieve some file, or change the permissions of some file, create a new file, I can use a new module called file. And how do I do that? Just follow through the process, then then you'll understand like how to use file module in order to create any kind of file activities in nodes as well as in master servers. So follow along. So if I just type Ansible all -s -m -s for sudo, -m is for file, I'm going to use called file module, and I'm going to execute the command called path equal to etc fstab. What does this do is like it's going to grab all the information of path and put it here, isn't it? Perfect. So what is this does, because sudo password is required. Okay, we need to fix this. A password is required for this because I have not put no password for this, right? I can see when I just use to sudo test, and if I just put switch to root, it's gonna ask for password. That we need to avoid. How do I do that? So what I do is like I'm gonna check my other servers, see what I have put. I have put no password in my sudo as file. Copy that thing, and I'm doing the same thing here. Log out into the root, etc sudo yes, and just go back and delete whatever I have put earlier. Put the new stuff which is going to ask no password at all. Switch to test user and try executing sudo to root. Perfect, it's switching to root now. So sudo -l, perfect, it is a root privilege. So I'm going to do it again. Execute the same all -s -m file module. So when I execute this command, it is not showing me the contents of that file. Instead, it is showing me what file is, like what kind of file it is, um, who is the owner of the file, who is the group owner of the file, what is the permission of the file, what is the path of the file, is there any kind of setuid set for the file, and what is the size of the file. So you can see here in Ubuntu machine 151 is Ubuntu machine, 105 is Ubuntu machine, this is a Red Hat machine. You can see there the owner is group is root, the file permission is 0644, owner is root, the path is the etc fstab which we checked. It is the SA context file of the SA context path of the particular file. Size is 313, and it's grabbing all the information of the particular file. And in 105 as well, we can just see the information grabbed. If I want to grab only in from Ubuntu machine, just replace all with Ubuntu. Perfect. So when I do this, it's going to just give me information of what I wanted, and this is enabled in a master server. And remember, everything we are doing in a master control server. Just use Red Hat. It's going to show me three machines or two machines. Perfect. So it's going to show me if I want to see characteristics of other particular file called maybe var. etc var is not available, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is etc shadow. Perfect. It is going to show me the permission of etc shadow. Remember, it's going to show only two because the group we are using is Red Hat. If I change with all, it's going to show me etc shadow characteristics of file characteristics of all the machines. If I'm just using only localhost, it's going to show me localhost by machine, current machine. Perfect. So I'm going to change path to the home test, and it's going to show me the current file. The size of my current home directory is 4096. If I want to just check when all the other machines, replace it with all. Perfect. It's going to show the characteristics of file on all the machines. Let me clear that. The next thing which I'm going to do is if I want to change the permission of a particular directory or a particular directory, how do I do that? So what I'm going to do now is I go here and I'm going to change the particular directory. I'm going to use /temp/etc /temp/etc state equal to directory mode equal to 0700 owner equal to root. Okay, so what does this do? Is like it's going to go to particular path called /temp/etc, and it is going to create a directory called etc there with the permission of 0700 with the owner of root. This is what it's going to do. But do you think it is going to create a new directory, or it is going to just tell, okay, there's no directory available? So let me just verify. I go to client node, I go to /temp, I go to, if there is an etc, there's no etc. Let me execute this and see whether I can able to get the file. Perfect. I can able to create a new file using this particular path, but there is no etc available. I created a particular file called etc. That's a directory, and I have put the permissions of owner, but group is also root. So I go here, just search -l. I can see etc. Earlier there is no etc available, and you can see there's etc directory created, ls-ld, and created the, ls-ld etc. So this is a new directory we just now created. I will just type date and ls-ld etc. So I can see there's a file with 700 permission. If I want to change the file permission, what I do is, again, I do the same thing, but I'm going to change this to 644. Then I'm going to put this, the permissions are changed. So just check the permissions again. Perfect, the permissions are changed. This is happening in each and every machine. Just show ls-ltra, and this is the latest directory. You can see the permissions changed. If I do the same thing again, it should show green, because there is no changes you are doing now, isn't it? That's called item potency, as I explained in the further note. Now if I want to copy a file, this is a creation of file, and if I want to create a, this is a created directory, I want to create a file, change the directory to file, and I'm gonna create a new file called etc1 state equal to file. Let me see if I can create a file. Now if I want to create a file, it does not allow me, because it shows like there is no path. So what we need to do using this, first we need to always find if there is any kind of directory created, then we create the file. Okay, so the path is this one, and we can create the file with a kind of another command, like in the kind of file command. Okay, so we need to create a directory, then we create the file. That's fine. The next thing which we are going to do is copy a particular file. So how do we copy the particular file? Um, Let me just explain. So Ansible all -s is for sudo -m. Instead of using a file module, we can use a copy module. What does this do is like it's going to copy the file -a. It's going to use source. Where is the file available? etc fs tab is the file, and we are going to use destination equals slash tmp etc fs tab. This is going to copy the file etcfs to be put up in slash tmp etcfsd. Whether will it do that? Let me just check using -f check option. If I use -f check option, I should not get the output here because it's just checking whether it can do it or not. Yeah, I haven't got any file now. ls-iltra shows the latest files. I do remove -f check option, execute it. Let me just see whether I can copy the file. I got the file here. Perfect. Let me see whether I got the file. I need to get file in temp etcfs tab. So I have here etc, which is a latest timestamp updated. So I go to etc here. Yeah, it's a root file. So sudo cd etc. So just go inside that, sudo cd etc. I'm not trying to log in. Sudo cd etc. It's not allowing me. Probably I need to change the permissions of that particular file. Be good, right? So I'll change the permission of etc tmp etc fs tab. I'll change the owner. I'll change the owners to test, and okay. So what I'm gonna do now is like I'm gonna copy this path tmp etc fs tab, and I'm going to state it as a directory and change the permission of particular directory. So just use this state equal copy equals test, try it, change. Fs tab already exists as a file, so let me just change the permission of that. Perfect. So when I go here, it should have that permission which is allow me to go into that etc file. Permission denied. I think the file is changed. I need to change the directory. Perfect. Now I see directory is changed to test, so I go to etc. Oops, why am I not able to go inside that directory? That's because owner is got read, right? So I need to go inside that. Permission denied. Chmod test. I think we need to give the group permission. Ch own. It's not allowing me to log in into that file. I'll just go to other machines and check whether I can able to log in. No, I think because a kind of permission parameter which we have set. Maybe I need to check giving 755 permissions. No ways. Let me just check where root and see whether I can able to log in. Yeah, I went to that and I can see fs tab is copied. Since it's a secure file, it's not allowing us to copy via root. The fs tab file is copied. Let me just try explaining another file because this was a mess up with the permissions. Let me just try copying another file and let me execute the stuff. So in order to copy another file, what we did is like earlier, so use the same command, source destination, and well destination we are going to copy into my home directory because we know we have got pop-up privileges, and this is my home directory, and I'm going to copy etc fs tab into my home directory to see whether I can able to copy in all my home directory. Perfect. So when I do this, and I will going to recheck it again, it should show green because the file is already copied, and I'm into my home directory now. And just go here and just we can see that fs tab is already available here. I can cat because we got read permissions, and we can see the same thing in my home directory and other machines as well. I can see fs tab is copied. Let me verify here. I can see fs tab is copied again. Let me verify here. It's always good to copy to the permissible home directory like test, because we know we have got permissions. But if you try to copy some other directory where we don't have permission, then we need to face issues, as I faced some time back. Right now, if I want to use a kind of remove the file, then we can use a command module to remove the file whichever I have copied there. So what we can do is clear it. Ansible, let me check whether my Ansible network is good. Ansible all -m ping, perfect. So I'm going to use command module to check whether to remove the file there, whatever I have copied. -s -m command -a remove rf slash home test fs tab, then removes. Okay, so let me see. I think we want to miss the target, so we need to use something called removes equals to slash home slash test slash fs tab. Missing for target host, so I think I am not adding the target host here, which is all. Now we can see my fs tab file is removed. Now you can see the fs tab file is removed. Perfect. So this is the command. I'll read another command again to check whether it's good or not. Ansible indicate a command on all the hosts. I used to use setup module, I used file module, and I'm using command module to make sure I am removing this file on my destination directories. So all good with the file module now. So this is the modules which we are going to explain one by one, and these modules which are actually being done directly in a kind of particular file like this. I'm going to just run it because it's already removed the file. It tries to remove the file, then it's going to show the error again like this. Fine. So we are just done with kind of modules which we can do it in a command line, and those command line concepts I'm going to explain again in the module number 7 or 8. Now we are going to use these modules in terms of a kind of playbook. How do we use this module in a playbook? So that's an important concept. Now, how do we use this module in a playbook? So we have to write a kind of playbooks for that. So let's start with writing playbooks. Hope if you're following the module number 4, we have explained about playbooks. We have seen that there's a directory created, and we have a lot of playbooks which we already written and executed. So I'm going to use modules, embed them into a playbook, and try executing. The next module which I'm going to start now is pause module. So I don't execute in a single command because I want to embed this into a kind of a playbook. So what I'm going to do now is I just create a new file called pause.yml. You know YAML language, and as we know, heading we need to put / the pause module. Now we're going to explain modules in terms of playbooks, and we're going to use hosts. I want to run it on all hosts. Do not use tab, use space bars, because tabs are going to consider wrong for YAML language. We're going to use sudo. We're going to use gather _ facts is to yes. These are all the default things which we have explained in module 4. If you are not gone through module 4, please make sure that go through module 4 before writing a playbooks like this. Tasks -name install httpd action. I'm going to explain the pause module, how we can use a pause module in Ansible playbook. Action yum name equal to httpd state equal to install. I'm going to install a package as we explained in chapter number 4. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a new module called pause. So I'm going to write a new module and put the module here called pause. So this module name is pause. When pausing, it's going to prompt the message called make sure the installation is complete. So I'm going to put a pause module, use the pause module here. So I'm using a module called pause to make sure that So verify Telnet installation. So what does this playbook does is like it's gonna use install HTTPD, and it's gonna pause at certain step where it's gonna ask me whether should I proceed or not. Then it's gonna install the Telnet. So this module is a pause module. It's gonna act as a pausing methodology where we can use it in a form of playbook. Yum action yum name equal to telnet state equal to present. Excuse. So just do this and perfect. So I'm going to execute this using Ansible -playbook and use the pause module. Check use the check option. So check whether it's going to work fine. Perfect. I think it is having some problem with installing module HTTPD. So you can see that it is pausing. We are used a pause module to pause. So it's going to verify Telnet installation. Before that, let me just check why it's having a problem with HTTPD. Oh. So if you observe very clearly, very defaultly here, what I am doing is I am executing on all machine. When you try to execute on all machine, it is trying to execute in this machine, this machine. Three are Red Hat machine, so no issues with that. But this one is a apt machine. That means the Ubuntu package management system is quite little different. The Ubuntu users called apt-get update. So it's going to use apt package management system. So it's going to use apt package management system. I'm just using apt to showcase that okay, this is going to use apt, not yum. So that is the reason it's showing an error. So what I do here is I just go here and remove all and replace with Red Hat. If I want to add another group, I can use comma and use other group called app server. You can see those groups here: cat etc ansible hosts. App server is a group and Red Hat is a group. If I try to use Ubuntu, it's going to fail in 105 because 105 is Ubuntu machine and does not use yum concept. So if I want to run it, then I can use this. Execute the playbook. It's going to execute only on 3 machines which I specified, and this pausing task will run unless and until I give any kind of keystroke or any kind of keyboard command. Excuse me. So this module of pause is very much important during certain phases or during development phase or testing phase, where you need to just stop a kind of installation, pause it for some time, and it's going to be very much helpful. We have used pause module, then I press enter. Until and unless I press enter, it is not going to proceed further. When I press enter, it's going to go and verify the telnet installation. Remember, the pause module is checking executing on all the machines, and it's going to check on one machine itself. That's because it's going to try to execute on 158, but it's pausing. If it's pausing, then it's going to execute on all the other machines, and I can see that everything is done now. Perfect. So if I want to execute installation in the Ubuntu machine, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to vim pause thing, and I'm going to that we will discuss in a separate section of roles. That will be very useful in roles. If I want to install HTTPD on Ubuntu machine, then I can just type Ansible -s -m apt module, the apt module -a space apt module package equal to HTTP. It is an Apache 2 package. It's not HTTPD in Ubuntu. State equal to installed. So just execute this, and we're not going to mention the hosts. I have not mentioned a host here. I'm going to mention Ubuntu. This is going to install Apache 2 in my Ubuntu machine. It's going to take some time. Yeah, it's installed Apache 2 in my Ubuntu machine. So if I want to verify, just go type apt-get and check out how to use a package management here. Install new package, list all the packages. If you want to just list all the package, okay, verify that the ROM package follows the selection, retrieve new list of package, perform install new package. Okay, if I want to use Apache 2, I can just check the service, right? Service Apache 2 status. Yeah, you can see Apache 2 is running. If I want to uninstall using command line, I can use command line. I can show you how to use this in an playbook. a little while later when we explain roles. If I just do this, it's going to remove the package in my machine, and I'm going to see the status. It is not running, right? This I executed only in Ubuntu, remember. That's it with pause playbook, pause module, how to use pause module inside a playbook. Now we are going to go ahead and do a new module called the wait module. Then we are going to explain different kind of modules available here in the slide of Eureka. So let's start with the wait module now. Okay, now we are discussing about the wait module, how to use wait module in our Ansible playbooks. Earlier we discussed of using modules, how to use in a command line, how to use the wait kind of module, and this lecture is going to showcase the wait for module and how we're going to use that wait for module in Ansible playbook. Okay, so let's go back to our machine setup and check whether all my machines are intact. Cleared all the screens of my client machines, I mean the nodes, and check whether I have Ansible. All Ansible network is good. Ping, perfect, it's good. And just check the groups in Ansible host, perfect. Now I'm going to explain Ansible wait module, how to use them in a kind of playbook. I'm into playbook directory now. I'm going to use another file called wait for.yml. I'm going to start writing the playbook. It's like the wait for module usage in playbook, type host. I'm going to use Red Hat machines and app server because I want to execute only on Red Hat. Sudo is yes, we require sudo privileges. Gather underscore facts is yes. Let's gather some facts. Tasks is going to start now. So installing the Apache Tomcat. So I'm going to install that, and let me install the HTTPD itself. I don't want to install the Tomcat because we are not sure of the port properties in that. Installing the HTTPD action. This is how package manager explained in chapter number 4. Yes. Oops, it's action equal to HTTPD state equal to install. The next installed. The next thing is hyphen name. Waiting for port 80 to open. So we are going to use a module called wait underscore for module in an Ansible playbook, and I'm going to put up port is 80 and port 80, and I'm going to use state equal to installed started. It's not equal to, it's gonna be is2 colon. So I'm gonna use started, and I'm gonna use name. Let me align it properly. Perfect. So I have remember this wait for module. It is gonna work until the port 80 is open. So let me just finish my code. Okay, so verify the Ftp installation. So I'm going to use Yaml module and use Ftp and state equals to install. Let me just check the read through the wait for module. What the wait for module is trying to do here, it's going to trying to execute the commands on Red Hat group and app server group. It is using a pseudo privilege. It is using kind of fact gathering the facts. It's going to use gathering the facts, and that is going to make it as yes. The next thing what is going to do is it's trying to install HTTPD on in the Red Hat the app server groups, which is of 3 machines. And after installation, the wait for module is waiting until port 8 is opened. So it is going to wait until port 8 is opened on all the 3 nodes. Once it is opened, the port 80 and all the 3 nodes, it is going to start installing the FTP installation. Hope you guys understand that, it is going to install HTTPD, and it is not going to go to install FTP unless and until you open a port on kind of all the 3 machines. So let's start working on, executing these playbooks. So I'm going to execute the playbook called Ansible hyphen playbook. Okay. I'm going to start working on Ansible hyphen playbook. Let me just verify. I know there's some error in the wait for YAML because of the spelling. I have put it wrong. So I'm gonna go here and type install release at state install. Let me verify again. So there is some problem with that one. I'm gonna fix it because we were just juggling out stuff earlier here. Let me just verify. So what I'm gonna do is like because of some syntax errors, so I'm gonna just use pause.yml and rename for this, and I'm gonna replace the same because install HTTPD. Instead of pausing here, I'm gonna do wait for module, isn't it? So here I'll gonna type excuse me, waiting for port 80 to open, and replace with pause module with wait underscore for module, and delete this. Just put a space, put port is to 80, and put state is to started. Once the port start is done, then it's going to verify telnet as I did in previous class. Previous thing. I'm going to replace this with FTP. State is installed. I'm going to install FTP and verify FTP. So install FTP. What it's going to do is it's going to install HTTPD, and it's going to wait until I open port in Red Hat machines and app server machines. So that's the logic. So before that, let me just verify the code is working fine or not. So let's verify the code, and it is going to wait for port to open on these machines. And let me just try to open one port here. How do I open? Just a sudo systemctl httpd, sudo systemctl httpd start. So start httpd, that's the code. So now you can see one port is fine, right? 158 is fine, isn't it? Right. So now I'm gonna go to 157 or 151, sudo systemctl httpd start. Remember, unless and until I open the port, this is going to wait. That is the module we are discussing now, right? So it's going to wait for port 80 to open. When the moment I use this command sudo systemctl start httpd in my 57 machine, now the port is open. Now we can see 157 is showing green, isn't it? Now we can use the same command in 151. Oops, okay, this one. Now we can see 151 is done, and it installed FTP on all the machines. If I rerun it command, we can know that the port is already open. That's why it's not going to wait. Okay, so clear with that, right? So if the port is already open, it's going to open, wait. If I just go to each machine and stop the ports, httpd, I'm going to stop httpd on all each machines. So I'm going to run the playbook, wait for playbook, and it is going to execute, and it's going to again start asking for waiting for port. So I'm going to start starting the playbook, and I can see the output is arrived. I'm going to start it again. I can see the output is arrived here in 157, and I'm going to start it here again. I can see the output is arrived at this machine. I'm going to remove httpd on all the machines because I want to use httpd package for most of the demonstration. So I'm going to use absent. Instead of that, I can just use command line Ansible red hat comma app server -s -m. I'm going to remove a command. I'm going to use command yum. Yum -a pkg equal to httpd httpd, and I'm going to use state equal to absent, and I'm going to just remove it from all the machines from Red Hat and app server. So you guys now know the reason why I was like configuring package management very good at the beginning, because these kind of issues, or these kind of the issues will be reduced, and we don't find much issues with package management. So I'm going to do it again to make sure that the package is fine. HTTPD is not installed. HTTPD is not installed. Perfect. I remove HTTPD for our future demonstrations. So as of now, we have done with setup module. We have done with file module. We have done with I think the pause module. Then we have done with the wait module. So further, we are going to do with yum module. As we were just discussing on the yum module right now. So let's just start creating yum module and how to use yum module in our playbook. So that's the whole idea about. So we used to do yum module in an command line, but we need to learn how to use yum module in our playbooks. So let's start discussing on yum module right now. Okay, so we were discussing earlier about various kind of modules. We discussed a setup module, we discussed a copy module, we discussed a command module, and we discussed wait for module. We discussed pause module as well. So now we're going to discuss about something called yum module. How are we going to use this yum module and implement in a kind of playbook format? So let's start doing that. Before going to do further, every time what I do is just check the Ansible network connectivity. Use Ansible all -m ping to make sure that the network is fine, and I'm just making sure my recording is going good and not muted and sharing the screen fine. Good. So my Ansible network is really good. So I am having a lot of playbooks here. So I'm going to just copy one playbook to make sure that or maybe yeah, I can just use the wait for module playbook. So I do is copy -pr and copy this wait for module pr and rename is yum.yml. So I'm going to edit the yum.yml. So yum.yml, and I'm going to just rename this to yum module. And I'm going to execute yum module only on Red Hat and app server, because it won't execute in Ubuntu, because Ubuntu is having apt package module systems. I'm going to explain to differentiate how to use Ubuntu in the same playbook in kind of roles when we try to do work on roles in the next module. So you can see host is defined, sudo is defined, gather facts is defined. These are all pre-defaults. The task, what I'm going to do now is like I'm going to install HTTPD. This is the module we're already using here, yum. So this is by default, let it be. I'm going to remove this one because we already explained wait for module, and I'm going to use another module called FTP. So that's nothing much. So this is a yum module, and this is another yum module. We are going to use that module, save it. So when I do that, I'm going to just check my module feasibility of my module checkup. So I'm going to use that check. So it is going to check me whether where I can install HTTPD, and it's going to check whether I can install FTP. FTP is already installed, so it's showing green. HTTPD is not installed, showing yellow. But this, since I'm using --- check option, the real work is still not done. So before that, I'm going to explain you one more thing, like how do you verify using a third-party tool my YAML file is good. So what I do is just usually I take copy this, go to my browser and go to new tab, verify my YAML file. So there are a lot of free open source tool, the YAML verify validator, the YAML parser, a lot of tools are there. What I do is just go here, paste my code, and it is going to show the output here, which is already good. If there is any problem, isn't it? If there is a problem, I just remove this. I can see there's output which is showing. So just check most of the times in a third-party tool if in case you are having issues with writing YAML code. I go here as well, just put my YAML code. I click go. It's going to show valid YAML. If I remove any kind of syntax issues, this one, go. It is going to throw me an error, could not find this while scanning a simple cat line 4. So it's very clear, and it's going to help us in a longer run to check any kind of YAML issues. Okay, so now I am just writing a YAML code which is going to execute YAML modules on Red Hat and App Server. That means 3 servers. These 3, leaving behind 105 is Ubuntu server, and I'm going to install HTTPD and FTP. So without check option, I do that. So it's going to install HTTPD on my client nodes. Perfect, and it's going to change. I rerun it to check the idempotency. It is going to show green. Perfect. So I have installed HTTP and FTP. So this is YAML module in playbook format. Remember, we used to do it in a kind of single command, but we are doing it in playbook. I'm going to edit the YAML module. The next thing which I'm going to do is, like, if I want to remove this module, so what I just simply do, go to the state here and put absent. And I'm going to just go to this state here, put absent, save it, check it again using -f check option to see I should get yellow on both the nodes. Excuse. So when I just execute Ansible -playbook yum.iml check, it is going to change the stuff. It's going to remove HTTPD in all the nodes, and it's going to remove FTP in all the nodes. Remember, we have used check option, so still the FTP is not at removed. You can just verify FTP local host to verify whether I have FTP installed or not. I can see FTP is installed here. I'm going to just remove this, and I'm going to use without check option so that it's going to do it in real time. So it's going to uninstall HTTPD and all the nodes, 3 nodes. It's going to uninstall FTP. So I'm just going to do check verify once. I can see FTP is not available. If I just check systemctl status HTTPD, it is going to see no service as of now. So this kind of methodology of YAML module we can use in playbook. I'm going to go again show another example of using YAML module inside playbook. If I want to install a latest version of the package, then I can just replace absent with latest. So I can go again here and replace absent with latest. I'm going to save this, run my module to install it on a latest packages. So it's going to show yellow because it's going to do some changes in the client machine, but it is going to install latest packages available in the repository. It's done. Perfect. Now I go to client node here, type FTP. Yes, FTP is available. Systemctl status HTTPD is going to show me services to be started. If I just start HTTPD, then oops, it requires a sudo. Since HTTP packages are available, we require service to start. Okay, we can see the HTTP status is running now. Perfect. So once we are done with YAML module, if I want to use upgradation of my host, usually we use a command called yum update. So how do I do that in a kind of playbook? So what I do is I should go to yum here. I'm gonna remove this package. I'm gonna put a name called upgrade. I'm gonna remove this package. I'm gonna remove, put a name called upgrade. 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 I'm g update my Linux hosts to latest package levels. So if I do want to do updation, I can do this, but when I'm giving HTTPD here, what I do is like I'm gonna give star. So it's equivalent to I use yum update all command. So I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna execute this command yum update. It's gonna update my Linux host to the latest package level. Perfect. Since it's already updated, it is showing the same stuff of green. So it's equivalent to command called yum update. It's gonna update all my packages. So now no, there's no packages marked for update. It's gonna show us green. Fine. So we are done with the M module. The next thing which we are going to discuss now is the apt module. So remember, the apt module is used for Ubuntu distributions. So I'm going to go here, go copy the yum module and create as an apt module. The simple thing which you are going to change is instead of yum you're going to use apt. That's it. And make sure that we are going to use the host is Ubuntu, because the apt module works only on Ubuntu platform. So I'm going to go here, apt, just use the yum module playbook. We're gonna change this to apt modules playbook, and I'm gonna just rename hosts to Ubuntu because we have only one Ubuntu server, and update my Ubuntu host to latest package level. It's gonna use yum. I'm gonna replace this with apt, and I'm gonna see here that the machines are okay. I'm going to test user. Fine. This apt module is going to update excuse only my Ubuntu server. So what I'm going to do now is Ansible hyphen check Ansible hyphen playbook, use apt.ml. I'm going to use check option to make sure my code is working fine. Yes, let me save this. Going to update to the latest package level. Perfect. It's updating to the latest package level, but remember I have used hyphen check option, so that is the reason it's not updating in real time. It's like just checking whether I can update or not, but since it's a new machine, it is trying to update. If in case I don't use check option, after this let me use the check option. Okay, just wait for some time unless it completes. It's just a check option. I'm not going it in real time. Okay. So so if we want to update, then I think there's a command problem with this. So what I'm going to do is update action apt get state latest. I need to use apt get no, I'm going to use, let me just try installing HTTPD, because sorry, it's Apache 2 in that machine. I'm going to install Apache 2 using the command module. Let me see if it's working fine. Perfect. So it's going to work. I'm going to install Apache 2 now, but in real time. That I just check where it's going to work or not. Perfect. So the command to update all the packages, I think it's apt-get update to retrieve all the perfect performance and upgrade. So apt-get upgrade is the command. So let me just check whether this command is working fine. Perfect. I'm going to go edit apt yaml action apt-get upgrade apt-get. Let me see. Okay. So update is a little different here in Ubuntu. So let me just replace Apache with any kind of other module like FTP. So let me just see whether I can use using app module to get FTC. Use this. FTP is already installed. Yeah, so the same thing as we did for Yum, we can do the same thing here, but the update part is a little different. We need to just check what is happening with the update part. If I want to remove the FTP, what I'm going to do is just put absent. You can use this and update by host with a kind of package which we can just remove the FTP. But the update part of using an Ubuntu is a little different. So which is it's always applicable to check the Ubuntu documentation before we try kind of updates for all packages. So now we have just finished explaining various kind of modules. The moment the stuff what we have explained is like we explained the pause module, wait for module, yum module, apt module, and module of setup and module of command lines and copy as well. Pause module. Okay, so the next thing which I'm going to discuss is the service module. So hope we are all good with the different kind of various module, how to use them in our playbook to perform a desired activity in the infrastructure environment. So I'm going to now start using service module in our lab, in Eureka lab. Before that, let me check whether my Ansible is intact. So just use this command to check my Ansible is intact for this machine. Yes, it's intact. I'm going to use service module. Before using service module, I'm going to just copy my the YAML file and make it as a service.yaml, then edit the service.yaml. So I'm going to rename the heading the service. Oops. I'm going to just say quit it, reopen it, and replace this as the service module. The service modules, and I'm going to execute the service modules here. So let the heading be here, and I'm going to use a new parameter called connection is to SSH and gathers facts and tasks. I'm going to put it as yeah, earlier you saw that the package is getting installed, but the service is being started by me manually. But now we are going to install the package and we are going to start the service manually by me. Install the web servers like HTTPD, and it's going to rename star with HTTPD and name start the web service. So what I'm going to do now is like use a module called service here. I'm using the module called service is to name equal to HTTPD state equal to starter. What does this do is like this will start the service using my service module, which we had done here. So okay, so this will start service. I'm gonna do this here. What we can do now is like I'm gonna start it using this. Yeah, this will start the service module. I'm gonna just save it. It's gonna install HTTPD and start the service module. So I'm just going to check whether it's going to install HTTPD on all my Red Hat and App Server machine and start the service. As we all know, like HTTPD is still not installed. I removed it last time. Okay, it is going to install HTTPD on my 3 machines. It's going to start the service. As 157, we already had my service installed. I can go here and because I did it last time. Remember, when the service is not starting automatically, I did this by myself last time. So I'm going to go put status HTTPD. So it's going to show active. That is the reason it's showing active in 157. And I'm going to just copy this. Check the services in other servers. Perfect, it's running. Perfect. Okay, so if I want to do the same thing for Apache server, Ubuntu, I'm going to just replace this with apt and service HTTPD started. But in name of HTTPD, I'm going to put Apache 2. Apache 2, that is a parameter for starting a web service. Apache 2 and start it. I'm gonna just use a service module. But remember, we never used Ubuntu at the top, isn't it? Yeah, we never used Ubuntu at the top. So I'm gonna remove this Ubuntu. Just save it. So start the service. It is gonna work on Ubuntu. It's gonna start Apache, and its web service is started here. So you can just use service Apache 2 status. It's gonna show Apache 2 is running. Fine. Now we have started the service. We need to have a capability to stop the service as well, isn't it? So I just go to service module. I'm just going to go to Ubuntu as well, and I'm going to use state equal to stopped. So this will stop my service. So just go to execute the same Ubuntu playbook, and I need to change the heading to stop the web service. I didn't change, no problem. So I'm going to just check here. Check. Yeah, the Ubuntu status is not running. We can do the same thing in my Red Hat machine. So just go here to service YAML file and replace this with Red Hat and app server, which are my Red Hat machines, and I'm gonna just rename this with yum, and I'm gonna just rename Apache 2 with HTTPD, and I'm gonna rename this HTTPD and state stopped. This is gonna just execute the same thing, but let me verify again. I think I need to use yeah, perfect, and I'm gonna execute service. It's gonna stop the services in all my nodes. I need to just change the task heading to stop the web service instead of start again. I didn't change when I'm executing the service.yaml file. So that's it with service module. And if you want to enable the service during boot time, so what I mean to tell is, like, we have something called in Red Hat where you need to enable using chef config, right? Check config during boot time. How do I do that? So what I do is go to the service YAML file, and I'm gonna just put the service start, and I want to enable the service every time during boot time. So what I'm gonna do is, like, I just go create another task, name enable HTTPD after after reboots. So I'm gonna go to here, user service module, name equal to HTTPD, enabled equal to yes. So what does this do? It's going to enable my service during boot time. So just execute back again the Ansible -playbook service YAML. It's going to work fine, and it's going to enable the HTTPD after reboots on all the machines. How do I check that? Just go to check chk config, and it is going to enable in during boot time as well. So I think it's put up in etc rc3 script. It's going to enable during boot time as well. So that is what we are going to do in using service module. That's it. So the next module, which we already discussed, is the copy module. We tried to copy some files into my destination directory, and it got worked, but we did not use it during in a kind of playbook. So I'm going to use copy modules in playbooks in a very fast way, and just follow it, and we can just cover it up a copy module in a quick minute. So let's start with copy module. Before starting, let me just verify whether my Ansible is intact or not. I'm just going to use Ansible -all -m ping. It's going to just give me ping pong to confirm whether the Ansible is good. So right now I'm going to start with copy module. I'm gonna just copy the service module to have a backup plan available. Copy.yml. Perfect. So I have just copied my service module into my copy module. So that's same. I need to go edit now. So what I'm gonna do now is I go to copy module here, and copy this, paste this, and the copy modules, rename with copy modules. let the host be Red Hat app server, gather facts be yes, sudo connection is not required for this. I'm going to remove that. Tasks, so I'm going to put on the tasks now. So what I'm going to do is rename this. So rename is copy the files to destination servers. So I'm gonna just remove this yum module and replace with copy module. Copy. So I don't want the package, isn't it? I just go down one line and try to put my source directory. src is my source directory. So where does the source come from? So I'll copy my source from my home directory here, home/test/ I'll make sure that test1.txt, and I'm going to put it in destination dest. So remember, we didn't use this during my previous copy. We just used it in a command line. We're using it in an playbook format. We copied the file and we are going to save this now. I don't want the bottom lines because it's not required now because it was copied from previous. Once I did this, I just want to verify my playbook here. I mean, verify my file availability. I can see my file is not available, so I'm gonna just touch test1.txt in my home directory here, and I'm gonna just cat aaa test1.txt. I'm gonna go to test1.txt, put in some data. Hi, this is my copied files. So save this. So I just go see my text. Oops, sorry for that. I just go to my text1.txt file and just make sure that file is available as of now. Just cat it. This is my copied files. I'm gonna copy this particular file into the destination as I discussed in that of a playbook format. So I go here and okay, we were discussing on copy module. So what we did just now is like we went to the home directory here and we tried to create a file to make sure that the particular file is getting copied into the destination. I go to my home directory of my server home directory, just type lsf1ltra and I can see my test1.txt file is available. I have embedded some details inside that. So hi, this is my copied file. So I go back to my playbooks directory. It's available in my home directory. So I'm going to go to test and go to playbooks directory and I have a file called copy.yaml. So what does this file does? It's like this file just now I have written, and it's going to just copy the text1.5 text file in home directory of my other machines. So let me just run that Ansible-playbook and copy.yaml. I'm going to use check option to verify my playbook is perfect or not. I think there is some problem with my playbook. What I'm going to do is like edit the playbook to check my any kind of issues in that particular playbook. Okay, so I'm going to just use vim and use copy -yaml test. There is some issue with source, so I'm going to see what is the issue with source. So here I don't think so we can use is2 the colon thing. I think we need to use equals. So I'll just remove this, use equals and try to run the command. That executes the copy module. Okay, so it's having some problem with this one again. So I'm just gonna let me just use a copy module to check whether my syntax is perfect properly. The syntax is perfect now. Since I'm using -check option, I don't find that test.1 file in my destination directory. Remember, earlier we used to do it in via command line in a single line, but we are going to do use in the form of playbook now. So we don't have test1.txt file here. Here, if you just go and just see, there's no test1.txt file. The moment I use without -- check option, it is going to copy that file into my destination directory. So the moment I can see test1.txt file available here, copied file. In the other node, I can see test1 file available here. Perfect. In Ubuntu, it's not available because we haven't tested on that. So, but I'm gonna use Ubuntu now. I'm gonna just go to this file and remove the app server and Red Hat server, and I'm gonna use Ubuntu. I'm gonna save this. Try it as executing the same thing. It should copy in my Ubuntu server as well. Go here and just be in the home directory. Check whether the test1 file is there. Yes, the test1 file is there. Just more in. Yeah, this is my copied files. Perfectly available. Clearing all screens, and the copy module is functioning very good in the playbooks. So now if I want to change the permission at my destination, so if I want to copy the file but change the permission at my destination, the moment I copied file here, I can see that the file is test1.txt. It has permissions of root and 644, but I want to change the permissions when it copies to the destination. So what we can do is, like, I'm going to edit copy.yml file, and I'm going to use the mode at the destination called mode equals 0. We already have 0644. I'm going to use 777. Instead of 0, I just use 777. And I'm going to re-execute that copy to check the mode at my destination. And then I just do it again to check the permission. I can see the permission should change, but it's having some issues. It's not going to change the permissions. Let me just check whether it's going to change the permissions. No, it's not going to change the permissions. The reason why it's not going to change the permissions here, if you just see here in this home directory, the moment I put ls-alter, the permission is not changed. The reason why, there's a very clear reason, because we know that it's getting executed, the playbook is getting executed in Ubuntu. So definitely in Red Hat, I don't find the permissions being changed, isn't it? So I can just go here, test, it's not changed. But if you go and test in my Ubuntu, the permissions getting changed to 744. So what I do is, like, I go now to the copy.yml file. I'm going to change this host back to Red Hat and app server and Ubuntu. It's going to change permissions on Ubuntu. I'm going to change 776 instead of 777. So let me see whether it's going to change the permission on all the machines, because I have given all the groups. It should show 3 yellows and 1 white, 1 green. No, everything is yellow because we are changing different permissions. So I'm going to change here and see the permissions are getting changed. Perfect, it's going to change. We have 776 permissions on my test file. We have 776 permissions on my test here again. 776. The same thing is happening here. So 776 in the test.1.txt, and it's going to have same thing here. I want the perfect. This way we can use copy module, change the permissions, and we can change the permission of a file. If I want to change the permission of owner in a form of YAML and in a form of playbook file, so I go here and give owner equals test group equals test, and I'm going to just remove this mode here, and I'm going to just go at this into mode equals 0655. So I'm going to edit again because I can change different file. I'm going to use source. We are going to have something called test2 here. Save it and create a new file called test2. Let me go to my home directory and vim test2.txt. So I'm going to just put this is my new file. Save it, and what we can do now is, like, go to the playbooks directory, this file should get copied along with the permission change. So earlier we did the permission change along with the group and the ownership change. So I'm going to use Ansible -playbook, and we're going to use copy module. Just do that. Execute the command. It is going to change in my directory. I need to find a new file now. So I'm just going to use ll, and I can find a new file called test2, and the owner and the group permission is changed to test. So I'm going to use see the same thing happened in the here. We're going to get a file called test2, and we can see the permission is getting changed. Owner and group is test, and the permission is 655. So go here and just type ll, and I can see the permission is getting changed to test, and it's good. Now we are done with the copy module. If you want to take a backup of that file, remember when I copy the file here, it is actually getting overlap, isn't it? So whenever I copy the file, if I'm copying the same file again, it's getting overlap. But if I want to take the backup of this particular file, like text2, we can usually do that. If I want to take a backup and copy the new file, I can do that by using the simple YAML file change. You can see it here. So I'm going to just change to my YAML file. Excuse. I just go here and put another parameter called backup equal to yes. Save this file and execute it. Now you can see something is happening at the destination. It is going to take the backup. Let me use different file because it is having some kind of issues. So if different backup equal to yes, let me just verify backup equals yes. Perfect. So how do we okay, I'm going to use test3. test3 file, and I'm going to just make sure that test3 file has been created. Okay, so cd test, I'm going to use cd home directory, and vim test3.txt, my new file. Save this, go to playbooks directory. Oops, I need to go to my capital playbooks directory. Yeah, then clear this ll. I can see my all the files. So I'm going to use copy module, which we have been working now. Ansible -playbook, and we're going to use copy. Execute it. So I should find some change, and the thing is I'm doing a backup now. So when I do ll in the destination machine, I can see the file is getting copied, but this file will have a backup. Okay, so backup equal to else. So the moment I rerun again, let me just check. The moment I run the copy file now again, we can see the backup is happening at the destination. And so what we can do is like just check the copy file and rerun it again. I'm going to rerun using copy file. Yeah, the moment I do this, it's going to take the backup and put up in my destination. So if I just tll, I can see my new file is having a backup here. If I just type ll, I can see the new file is having a backup here. Yes, perfect. So like this, we can use copy module to create new file, or maybe we can change the permission of the file. We can change the group ownership and owner of the file, and we can create the backup of the file. And it's always good to use copy module in the form of playbook to perform a lot of activities with a shorter duration. So the next thing which we are going to discuss is command module using in the form of playbook. So how do you execute a command module using the form of playbook? Playbook. So what we can do right now, I'm going to write a simple script, and I'm going to just make sure that the command is executed at the destination host. The script is executed at the destination host. So what I do now is I'm just copying the one of the playbook, or maybe like I'm just copying my service or copy module to making sure that it's going to replace with command.yml. I'm going to vm command.yml, and I'm going to just change this to command modules. I'm going to just write a task called execute this script command. Okay, so I'm going to write this task now, and I'm going to just delete these things. So I'm going to execute these things and use a command module. Command is to /home/test.sh. This is my script which is going to execute in my destination host. I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to move the command YAML file, and I take this and create a new script. So I'm just using vim editor to create the bash script, and the ultimate goal of this is like I want command module to execute my script on destination nodes. So I'm just writing a simple script, echo this is my script, and that's going to put up in output. I'll put in my home directory, destination home directory, test output.txt, and I'm going to save this. Fine, I'm going to save this. I'm going to change the permission of this thing here, or else I can give user executable for this particular script, and I'm going to use a 755 for this particular script. I'm just testing the script. I'm going to just use it to make sure that it is going to work in my home directory. I can see the output.txt file is come. Perfect, this is my script. Now I'm going to go to playbooks directory and execute the command module to make sure that the command script is executed at my destination host. So where is my command module script? Command module YAML file, Ansible hyphen playbook command dot YAML hyphen check is going to just check whether my syntax is correct and it's going to happen or not. Execute the script command. It is skipping, so let me just execute without anything checking. Just let me see. There is a particular file, issues and issue, home test.sh. Execute the script command. So let me just see whether this particular file exists or not. Yeah, the file is I need to just make sure that this file is available or not. Okay, the script is available. It's a test.sh script. I need to execute it via command line. So let me just go check and execute that now. We were facing issue with the command module where we are implemented kind of command modules inside a YAML file and in turn form into a playbook. So what we have written is like we have a command module called cat command .yml, and this is the file we have written. I'm going to edit that command module file right now. So what I do is I just go edit command module file, and we need to put a new factor called connection is to SSH. I did do it some time back, and I just did now. And execute the script command. We have a command home test.sh. When I try to execute this command, if I just use ansible hyphen sh ansible hyphen playbook and execute the command called command.yaml, so I can see we are getting issues. We are getting a message that there is no such file or directory. I had a chance to investigate what was this problem, and we came to know that there is no such file or directory in the destination node. So what I do is like I go to my home directory here, and I create a new file called test.sh, and I'm going to edit that, putting this is my bash file, bin bash, and I'm going to echo This is my generated file. I'm going to put that and just put it in the form of output or txt. So when I do that and save that file and give the proper permissions for that particular script in my destination, I can use command module and my source in the master server to execute this particular script. So now you just rerun it, rerun the command Ansible command line prompt, just rerun it. You can see that one of my server executed the command which I have put the script here. So I have my script here. I have my script test.sh, and when I execute the command, I need to get a file called output.txt. So I got the file called up to output.txt, which says that okay, this is my generated file. So I need to do the same thing if I want to run a command at the destination host. If there are, imagine in an infrastructure where there are almost like 100 to 50 commands, and you don't want to log into each server, but you need to execute those commands or scripts. How do we do that? This is one example. We can just put on the scripts in this YAML file as a form of command and execute. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go home directory here, and I just use test.sh, create a new file, create the file called um, create a new script, bash script /bin/bash, form a file, echo, this is my generated file, and put it in the output.txt. So this is my script at the destination node. I give proper permissions for that. Test.sh. The moment I have the script and I have the script written in my playbook file here in the command.yaml file, I'm going to rerun the command YAML file. So it's going to reflect changes in my two machines, while the other two machines is not going to show because I don't have the script in my other two machines. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the same script which I did here and put it in that location as well. What I do is I take this particular script, I go here in my home directory, and I'm going to do test.sh, and I'm going to just put the entry here and save it. Provide appropriate permission because the script requires appropriate permissions to execute at the destination. Now you just rerun it again. You need to reflect three nodes because we have the script at the destination which is getting executed. The only machine which is not, only server which is not getting executed is Ubuntu. I'm going to do the same thing in Ubuntu as well. I'm going to go to Ubuntu, type test.sh, and I'm going to paste the script and chmod 755 test.sh, and execute the command. You have a playbook YAML file. The command, what is it doing is the command is actually getting pushed up in these three nodes and executing the script. The moment it executed, I can see the output.txt file available in each machine. Okay, so more output.txt. This is a generated file, and I can see the output file here as well, more output.txt. This is a generated file, and I showed you the output file available here, more. This is my generated file. Perfect. The same thing has been shown here as well. So by using a command module, we can actually push in the commands to execute at the destination in the form of script. So what I can do is like I can just show you the complete overview of command module YAML, how it is written. So please take a note in your sheet, so it will be helpful when you are implementing in your production or development environments. So it has a host section, it has a sudo section, gather facts. Make sure you need to have connection protocol SSH in the YAML file and execute this command, and this particular script should be available in all the destination hosts you mentioned in this host location. So that's it with command modules. Next we are going to switch on with various modules. Let's start with something called Cron module now. So we all know what the Cron is. Cron is a scheduler module where you need to schedule the jobs in a day or in a night and give the timings for the particular job to be run. So we are going to write a playbook, and that playbook will be having a cron as an example and it creates a cron for particular user. So what I'm going to do is I'm just copying the command module replacing it with cron.yml. I will go to cron.yml and edit that file. So the heading is going to change now. Follow up through this module. Cron modules are really important during production environments where you need to set up cron at a particular time and duration. Instead of host splitting like this, I can just give all. I'll give user is to test. We want test user to have the cron. As of now, if you just go to the client and type cron -l, I don't have any cron. And in fact, I don't have any cron packages installed, I believe. Yes, that's right. I don't have any cron. Let me check in Ubuntu. Okay, I need to install cron packages first. So gather facts is sudo is not sudo is required, and let me install the cron package. Okay, let me see here. Sudo yum install cron. No package available. Running transaction crony will be installed. Crony. Okay. Let's go to the root. So let me check. Cron is not installed. I need to check cron tab. So no cron tab for the test. So that is the command to check the crons. So cron tab -l, no cron tab for test. Cron tab -l, no cron tab for test. Cron tab -l. It's not cron -l, it is cron tab -l, which is going to prove me that okay, there's a cron available, but there is no job scheduled. So once we have done with this, then let me just continue writing the playbook for cron modules. So we have gather underscore facts is yes. Then we have connection SSH perfect. Then here we're gonna change it to add the cron job to test user. Since I'm using sudo, it is gonna go for root. So I don't want to use sudo here. So we need to come at the bottom with a task job named add the cron job to test user. We are going to use a module called cron, and we are going to name the module. We need to give a name for particular cron module. Oops, I need to use a module called cron, and we need to name the module name equal to list files, and I'm going to schedule with minute equal to 0, hour equal to 1. So it is going to run, the cron job is going to run every 1 o'clock AM. And I need to specify job equal to ls-al. That's the listing of all the files under etc, and home test cron job .log. So what does this do? It is going to give a heading for this cron file called cron list files. It is going to give the job heading called list files, and it is going to execute the job at every 1 hour, every 1 o'clock AM. And the other parameters like apart from hours and number of days, weeks, everything will be star. That means it is going to execute the cron job every day 1 hour, and the job is to just list out all the files and etc and put that files into cron job.log. Let me save this and try to check whether the file is intact and good. So I just use cron.yml and check if the syntax is good. There is some issue with this, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to just edit it. So it is, I'm going to fix it, the cron module. So I'm going to just put a hash, and I have another stuff written. So it should be written like this, where if you want to just put on the data, we need to have a colon filled up at the top of that particular job. So that's the reason it's showing some error. So I just remove this and save to see whether it's going to happen and going to happen. No problem with the syntax. Perfect. So it is having a check, and the moment I remove this check, and it should run without it should enable cron job for my test user. So I just execute that stuff, and it is going to execute on all hosts because I have replaced with all hosts. Check the cron tab. I can see the cron tab with the hashtag of Ansible with the name list directories. It is going to schedule the job every day at 1 a.m. If you want to schedule on particular days, you can just mention weekday equals, and you can just make sure whatever days you want to schedule, and automatically the job is going to run and shows the output on that particular time. The same thing we can see here because I have executed on all hosts, and you can see the cron tab for user test is been fixed, and it's working fine. If you want to remove the cron tab, now what we need to do is like go to the cron tab file here, and just list the name of the cron tab, list directories, and remove the scheduled stuff here at the right hand side. Oops, I just need to quit it, rerun it. And what I'm going to do now is like I'm just going to retain the name equal to list directories and remove everything which is put at the right hand side, which is actually written to schedule the job. Let me remove that. Okay, so when I remove it, the task which I'm doing now is like I want to, I have scheduled a cron job, as I just showed you some time back, like cron tab hyphen L. I can see the scheduled cron job is machine put up in all the hosts, but I want to remove those cron tab using a single from master server. So I can just use state equal to absent and save and execute the playbook file. Now it is going to remove my cron tab on all the machines. I can verify again by cron tab hyphen L. I can see there's no cron tab. You can enable cron tab, we can disable cron tab using Ansible and using Ansible master module called cron. So that's it with cron modules. We're going to start discussing on module called debug now. So we are done with cron module. We are going to start discussing on debug module, how we are using debug module in our environment to make sure the work is getting faster, and to check if in case of any kind of problems occur. So let's start using debug module, and follow with me. So what I'm going to do now is like I just copy the cron module, make it a rename as debug module, debug.yml. So once I do that, I'm going to go to debug module, debug YAML, and just change the heading called debug, and let it be run on all hosts. Let the user be test, and we could require sudo for debugging. So I'm going to put sudo equal to s, and gather facts, let it be gather facts. The first task is like I want to install the web server, just a task because I want to know how the debug mechanism works. I will show you how the debug mechanism works in case of any problems occur. Install the web server, and I'm going to remove the cron module which we discussed in the last lecture. I do yum is to and name equal to httpd, state equal to installed, and name equals to. But before installing, let me just verify. Okay, so I'm gonna put installed, and I'll put another module called debug. That's what we are doing now. Message equals equivalent of sudo yum install, equivalent of sudo yum install httpd. So it is just showcasing that the message is going to pop up when we install this particular playbook. When we install this particular httpd, the message will be equivalent of sudo yum install httpd. Equivalent spelling is wrong. So okay, so I'm just executing this to make sure how the debug output will be. Ansible playbook debug. There is some kind of problem the debug, so let me just verify it. Debug message equal to okay, let me remove this and see. Perfect. So what it is happening here, so I think there is some issue which popped up just now. So the HTTP state installed. Fine, I'll rerun it. I think what is the issue we face here is like excuse me, we are not able to install HTTPD, as again we were facing the same problem earlier, like that machine is the Ubuntu machines, that's why we are facing the problem. But the major point which we are looking at here is a task module, the debug task. You can see every time it is going to install a particular software, it is going to throw me a message, yes, it's installed, and that's a point. It's at the first level of debugging. And if you want more level of debugging, we can use -v option. Along with this, we can just use -v option, and you can easily get a lot of options like results, and you can see it's already installed or it's going to check already installed. So I'm going to use -v option to debug it further. So this level of debugging is required. So I go to the debug playbook file again, and I'm going to just remove all hosts to just Red Hat and app server. And you can see the debug message which we are getting here. If I want to put again, okay, so I can see that it's getting executed, and you can see the task debug is happening. It is going to throw up the message whenever there is a change, and the debug message will be thrown at the debug task. I'm going to go edit with the debug YAML file. I'll add the task named how long the system is been up. I'm going to use shell module user bin uptime. I'm going to register it to a particular accumulator or the result. I'm going to use debug now. So just execute. So what it is doing is, like, the moment the debug is done for install, it is going to pop up with a new task called how long the system has been up, and there you can find user bin uptime, which is popping up, and it is going to put up a result, and it is going to put up in debug mode. So let's just execute it to see how the outcome will be. I won't use -v option. Now you can see the way the debug is being put up. It is installing web server, it is installing debug mode, and you can see how long the system has been up. The task is how long the system has been up, and it is executed a shell command called uptime that has been put up into a debug task. So the moment it's put up in debug task, it is clearly telling step by step with extra information that this the command has been run, and you can see it has been started at this particular time, and this is the load average as of that particular time, and it is going to throw up the outputs. So this way of debugging is always helpful when there's an issue with Ansible and any kind of client issues. You can just see we are just running the how long system is up shell command uptime. It's putting that result into register, and we are using it as the debug result. That's it. So that's it with the debug module. Debug module is usually helpful when you do a troubleshooting steps, and you use the module called debug during the particular module. The next module which we're going to discuss now is the fetch module. So what does this fetch module does? The fetch module is eventually we have already transferred some kind of files from master server to destination server. What if I want to grab the file? What if I want the data from client to my master server? So for that we can use a fetch module. I'm going to just copy my debug module and replace it with fetch module. Debug.yml. Debug.yml and replace it with fetch.yml. I'm going to edit fetch.yml. That's a YAML file. I'm going to rename excuse, debug with fetch modules, and let this be saved, and the task is gonna replace. What is the fetch module is about? Fetch module is nothing but we are copying the file from remote server to master server. We are fetching them, we are fetching the details, isn't it? So we delete the debug concept because we're not using that, and we are going to use a module called control buffer is in different mode. Fetch, that's a module. Source equal to etc. We are going to copy etc hosts from the destination remote server to my destination, I mean from the remote servers to my home directory. So that we will get only 3 hosts, because we have just mentioned 2 Red Hat servers, 1 Red Hat app server. Okay, let me just execute the fetch module now then. Okay, it's ansible.playbook fetch. Before executing, let me check if it's going to happen. There is some kind of issues, so will it fix it? This one is not required, I believe. Yum module. Yes, perfect. Copying the file from remote to master server. Let me see whether I can able to run it, because we might face issues. Yes, it copied. Okay, good. Go to my home directory here, and I can see 3 directories, one from 157, one from 158, one from 151. Each directory will be having a etc host file copied. We have a etc host file copied. Perfect, isn't it? We have retrieved the data from my client nodes to my master server. It's very quick, very fast, and it's very much helpful as well. So I'm going to my home directory and just going re-verification in my 158 now to check whether it's gonna happen successfully. And I can see etc is there, and I can see host file is there. Perfect, right? Okay, once we have done that, I'm just going to go to my playbooks directory and do ll and check my latest playbook. That the latest playbook what we did is a fetch YAML. I'm just gonna put fetch YAML. So what we are gonna do is that we go to fetch module and YAML, and I can just fetch any source file. Like we can just fetch any file which we want from the destination. That means from the nodes here. So I can, what I will fetch now is etc host. So let me just fetch etc password file and just see whether it's gonna copy or not. Execute ansible.playbook file and use the fetch.yaml. Ansible.playbook -playbook and use fetch YAML. So it's gonna copy the files as is discussed, and I'm gonna go to the test home directory and go to my 172.31 and 2.157 server. See that file is available, password file is available. Oops, see the password file. Yes, we have host file now. Now it's going to have password file. Remember one thing, it is not overlapping. It is actually putting all the files whatever we want one by one. You can see the password file available here. Cool, good. So what next? So we have discussed about the fetch module. Now we can start discussing on user creation, user administration modules. But before that, let me see if in case there's something which is missing for fetch module. Let's start discussing with user module. This user module will start discuss. This user module is going to have a discussion on how the users are created, how we are going to put up the permissions for a particular user, change the permission. So I'm going to copy my fetch module and fetch. Okay, I'm not in home playbooks directory. So I go here to playbooks. I go to here to playbooks and I go to copy -pr fetch module and use an rename called user YML. That's user module. Edit the user module and rerun the commands. So we're gonna have the same thing here available, and the task will be add the user called Apache to Apache web client. So the module fetch is going to change back to user now. Remember, everything we are doing in an YAML file inside the playbook. So I want the username Apache. I want the comment called test Apache, and I want the group called wheel. I want the group called wheel, and let's see whether the user is getting created or not. Okay, so let me just see the user is getting created or not. Ansible -playbook user.yml. So it is going to execute in all the machine, and I can see Apache user ID -a Apache. Perfect, isn't it? So we got the user created immediately in seconds in all the client nodes. You no need to go to each server and create the user. So it's Apache. Perfect. ID -a Apache. So once we have done this, we can actually rename, and we can just make sure we get appropriate stuff or everything by putting up the shell at the end of this as well. Whatever user parameters you want, you can just put here in this particular format. So once you do that, you can see the cat etc password grep -i Apache. The destination has Apache with sbin no login. So what we can do is we can change the shell automatically. How did we do that? So that's what we just added shell here at the end, right? So that is gonna reflect back there when we just run this command. Let me just see, it's gonna work fine. Yep, check with the same command, and I can see the shell is getting changed here. I re-verify in other machines. I can see the shell is getting changed here. I re-verify in this machine as well. I can see the shell is getting changed here. Now I want to remove the particular user created. I go back to my home older fetch module. I mean the user module. I'm going to rename this because it's getting confused. User modules. And what I do is now I need to remove the commands here. And state equal to absent, remove equal to yes. I'm just running the playbook again, and currently used by process 8574. Let me just check as Apache getting used. So it is having overlap with Apache, isn't it? So that's why it's killing the stuff. So sudo yum remove httpd. So I just kill the process of Apache. Let me see if it's going to work on 158. Perfect, it's working on 158, and I'm going to just sudo yum remove httpd. Sudo yum remove, because my user ID and the Apache user ID is overlapping, so I want to just remove kill the process. I'm just uninstalling the httpd and rerunning my playbook file. Once I do that, it's going to affect in everything, and I can see there will be no Apache user directory here, no such user. I have removed the Apache user directory using Ansible. Perfect, right? Okay, so what next? We have discussed almost most of the important modules. So we have discussed almost like many important modules like setup module, file module, pause module, wait for module, yum apt, service, copy, command, cron, debug, fetch. There are almost 220 modules which is given by Ansible, but I have discussed one of the main modules which is actually required for our daily courseware and for our daily Ansible administration and Unix infrastructure administration. So make sure you go through all the other modules from Edureka. Edureka is having a particular questions and answer solutions where every module has been discussed the way we have discussed today. In case you guys any doubt is there, you can just contact Edureka for such solutions, and make sure the modules part is very clear. So also, so the furthermore modules here in the slide, add module, mount module, zip stat are also similar the way we worked, and we're gonna replace the module names with a particular module and perform the desired activity as so we were working on this modules, right? So what we were going to do now is like in order to just explain better, I go to Ansible modules. There's an Ansible directory, Ansible modules, and I can see module index from Ansible. There are n number of modules which can be used for our daily work, which can automate our daily tasks in our environment, and make sure that we can use any kind of modules. We can use to go to command module and use a shell module here. Click on the shell module, and we will able to come to know the stuffs or the examples written. You can use these examples to work for your desired activity. So I have explained the main modules which can be used on a daily basis in daily environment works. So make sure you guys gonna read all these modules and be confident in doing this stuff. So thank you for attending Ansible module section. We are done with module 5 now.